Parent Entrepreneur Power, conversation number 136.
Parent Entrepreneur Power.
Wait, what? Entrepreneur Power!
This is the podcast for parents juggling the tough choices required for success in business while putting family first. Hi, I'm Mary Catherine Johnson, and I share the ups and downs and dirty truths of profits and potty training while chatting with successful parent entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Are you powered up? Hey there, Power Parents. Guess who again? Mary Catherine Johnson here, and I so hope you are powered up for this because today I have with me Carrie Wilkerson. She is the founder of the Barefoot Executive. Hey there, Carrie. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Oh man, I'm enjoying this day, but it's supposed to be 104 today, so I'm staying inside. But hey there, welcome to the conversation. Now tell us, we always start our conversations with your once upon a time story, basically how you got into this whole parenting and entrepreneur gig. So take it away.
Yeah, I got into parenting and entrepreneurism at the same time. Literally at the same time. I adopted my older two kids. They were siblings. They were 8 months old and 2 years old. And I was working a full-time job. I was a high school teacher. I was also working part-time at a mortgage loan office. So I actually had a job and a half. The minute I became a parent, I reevaluated everything. And I said, I love my career. I love my job, but these kids have had kind of a rough start. I want to be there for them. So that's what I did. I adopted them in the spring. So I finished out the year. Over the summer, I thought I was going to go back. I made all the plans to go back. And then I kind of freaked out like contract day, the day contracts were due. I said, I don't think I can do this anymore. But, you know, as a lot of the teachers listening know, is that our paycheck stops in August. And so I did have a couple of maybe 3 weeks of cushion there, but I had to figure something out because our budget was based on me working full time. My husband was a young starting executive at the time, so his salary was roughly what my salary was. I had just cut our income in half. We had just bought a home, and now we acquired 2 little ones. So that being said, I had to figure out a hustle. I had to figure out a way I didn't have to duplicate my income, but I did have to kind of meet us somewhere in there. And so I didn't have a grand idea. I didn't have a driving passion to be an entrepreneur. Never fancied myself a business owner. I don't come from business owners, but I do come from a long line of amazing parents. And so I thought, how do I make this work? I'm an intelligent woman. I have a degree. I have some good skills. So I've been told there's got to be something I can do to work at home. And so literally my journey started one because of the other.
And when was that?
August of 1998.
That's exactly when my first son was born. So 17 years ago.
Oh.
Wow. So 17 years ago, you did that. So, you know, I have to say, starting a business and starting a family at the same time is, I'm finding it's what's been called the baby effect. Mm-hmm. So we have a baby and it just basically makes us reevaluate life and say, I have to do something different. I can't just keep doing status quo. I really have to do something different to take care of these kids. But you had a reason beyond just giving birth and not having any clue what was going to happen after giving birth.
Right.
I mean, you had some kids that really, really needed you. Not that our biological kids don't need us, but they had been through things. So you already knew they needed you beyond just being someone to provide food and shelter. Mm-hmm. Wow. So what did you start?
So because it was 1998 and internet was pretty much just bulletin boards and email at that point, I knew there was something there. So I knew I was going to spend some time investigating that. But I did what almost everybody else did for a side hustle at that time. And I started a direct sales business, a party plan business. It was easy. It was low startup. It had a marketing plan behind it. I didn't feel like I had any business skill whatsoever and had the bonus of, you know, getting me with some people every now and again. Now that I was all of a sudden alone at home with these 2 little people and covered in snot and graham crackers, it gave me, you know, an outlet and a reason to shower, if we're being honest, you know. So I started that and that's really where my business training kind of began. It started a little bit earlier when I was teaching high school. I did the yearbook and the newspaper. So there was some business and marketing in there too. Yeah. But as far as, and my husband did make a prophetic statement. He said, "You're so amazing at this marketing and business and making money for the school. Why don't you make some for us?" That's what he said. "Why don't you make some for us?" And I laughed. I'm like, yeah, I'm a teacher. Yeah. So then, then we transitioned and I started working in direct sales. And I did that for 3 years. And I started reading business books and listening to business tapes and attending sales trainings and those kind of things. And so one business evolved into a different business, which was then a virtual publishing company, leveraging the internet and my mass communication degree, plus software and virtual contractors. I was kind of a virtual assistant firm before that was a thing, 2001. Yeah. We were dial-up and back servers is what we were doing, right? And
oh my gosh.
That was really foreign concept at that point. But we developed an amazing business. We did $5 to $7 million in newsletters, sold that company, and then evolved into the Barefoot Executive. And the Barefoot Executive came about because people were saying, "How are you working at home and raising these kids? You got 4 kids, and one of my kids has special needs." And then I retired my husband in that time period. He was home for 10 years with us. And people wanted to know how. And so I would just start teaching them and training them on what I was already doing and what I had learned. And that evolved into my company as I know it now, the Barefoot Executive, the consultant and mentor and speaker and author and those things.
Wow, fantastic. So tell me about the kids. How many kids came along? When did they come along and all that whole journey? And did you go like outside the home to work? Were you always home? I mean, tell me about that.
Well, since the kids, I've been home. I've been home ever since 1998.
So you didn't have like an outside office you would go to. It was always an office in the home.
Always, always. And that was against several of my mentors' recommendations. Like you're going to cap your profit if you don't get an office and a staff. Like my whole purpose for being here is so that the kids are here with me. Yeah. I didn't want somebody else to raise them. I've had a helper one day a week, every once in a while. I have somebody helping bring them home from cheer camp today, but not full-time house help. I didn't want more people underfoot than necessary. I already had the kids. Yeah. So no, I've never officed outside the house. Part of that's also rent. I never wanted to pay rent somewhere else either. I'm already paying for my house for the love.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have 4 kids. I adopted the first 2 that we talked about, the siblings. They're 19 months apart. They are now 21 and 19.
Wow.
Yeah. So, well, actually 19 and 20 and a half. He'll be 21 at Christmas. And then 7 years later, we had a couple. So I also have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. So I have 2 store-bought and 2 homemade. And so my kids have a big age difference, but I've worked my business with newborns, with special needs, with toddlers, with teenagers, with college kids, you name it. And we've run the gamut.
So I have to throw this softball at you. It probably won't be a hard ball. It'll be a softball because I have a feeling you're going to agree with me. But it's okay if you don't. So let's take your business and the different businesses you've had, whether it's the current Barefoot Executive or the one before. And have you found that your businesses take on the same basically stages as your kids do? So let me be more specific. You have a newborn. Your business has a newborn stage. It's called startup. Right? You have the newborn then goes into a toddler. Your toddler
it keeps you up all night.
Yeah, the newborn stage totally does. It keeps you up. You are totally obsessed with it. You talk to everybody about it. Yeah, it's totally the same. And then you get the toddler stage. And the toddler is you got this huge growth spurt and then you fall back on your behind.
Yep. Stand up, sit down, stand up.
Yeah. And so your business goes through that same stage. And then you've got kind of the progressive growth, the little middle stage. You're in elementary school, everything's fine. Then you hit the puberty and you get, does your business go through the same stages as your kids?
I think it can. Yeah. And I think that where people tend to give up are 2 core places. I've not given a ton of thought to this, but just gut reaction, I would say there are probably 2 core places. And looking at my kids, I would say these are probably the hardest places of parenting too. the infancy stage, the newborn, where you're not sleeping, where it's not, if you think about kids, there's very little ROI at that time. They're not always smiling or laughing. They can't talk to you. They can't play. Like my other kids would say, when do they start playing with us? When do they start doing something? So we all love that 7-month stage where the personality starts to come in. I think people give up during the sleepless phase and the no return phase. It's just too hard. Now with kids, we don't have that option, right? Most of us, we don't have that option. And so we hang in there. If we would hang in there with our business, I think that would be better. Anthony Robbins says this, and I love it. He said, we tend to grossly overestimate what we can do in 1 year, and we tend to grossly underestimate what we can do in 5. I mean, look at a 5-year-old compared to a newborn. They're reading, or mine were reading. I have several that were performing by that age. They're riding bikes, they're motor. It's amazing, but you would never, when you give birth to them, you would never figure that. But then the second phase, I think people tend to throw in the towel, is actually not toddler or elementary. I would say the preteen phase, where you think you know everything, and where we overreact when things don't go our way, or we just get bored and it's not entertaining us, or if you've had a preteen, guys, it's the there's nothing to do, and then the next minute we're like, I'm so excited, and then there's, oh, she hurt my feelings, and the next minute we're best friends. And so I think that's another phase we tend to throw a business out, is when we get in the know-it-all, moody, overly dramatic, has to be exciting and interesting phase, when really if you hang in there, I was driving my 12-year-old to cheer camp this morning. I'm taking them at 2 different times because she's a counselor. So I'm driving her, and I took her to Starbucks first. She asked because it was the last day of camp, and we're chatting, and it just hit me. I just thought, wow, what an amazing kid she's turning into be. I can see some glimpses of some teen and some college age in her now that I couldn't even see 6 months ago. And today I was wallering, I'm Southern, so I was wallering in that a little bit, going, okay, so glad we hung in there through that, 10, 11-year-old phase, because wow, not that we don't still have some hard days, but she's really turning into this amazing, adult. And the 9-year-old is still in that fun kid phase. And then anyway, so yeah, I think that's really something. And then I have a college kid who did 9 weeks in New York in an internship working in the projects this summer. And so that phase you can never imagine either. But I would say that compares to your business when it's kind of trucking along, doing its thing, has some independence, some automation, and just producing.
That's it. That's exactly it. It really, they go through those stages. And when you get it to the time, like I am with my oldest graduating high school and basically autonomous, it's so awesome to be able to sit back and go, phew, wow, the view is amazing up here above the trees instead of way down in amongst the trunks.
Right.
It's really amazing. And I can take a deep breath and kind of breathe a little easier because it's trucking along, doing what it needs to do because I put in all that work. And I did all that stuff. So yes. And that preteen, when you mentioned that is so true, because not only do we think we know it all, but then it has to be our way. If it's not our way and it isn't the way I expect it's always worked and the way I want it to be, well, then it must be failing and we just must forget it.
I think you can see some of those businesses on Facebook. If you follow a lot of business owners on Facebook, entrepreneurs, you can kind of see them reacting that way when they have to rant or vent or stomp their feet or have a fit, and then they invariably have to come back and retract it or backtrack later. I just think, really, how old are we? How old is the business? How's that working for you? So, yeah, I think that's interesting. I never thought about that before.
That's what this whole podcast is based on.
Love it.
It's the whole idea that, if we've survived parenting, we've got it. We've got all the tools and all the skills we need to be successful in business if we just remind ourselves of what we've already gone through. So it sounds like you obviously have gone through all those things and are helping other people do it as well. So since we take it from that kind of parenting aspect here, what is the overriding philosophy that you use in Barefoot Executive to help people get through those kinds of things? Do you have a specific direction you take or idea that you profess? What is
Yeah,
Barefoot? Tell me more about that.
Well, Be Barefoot is just about me I'm sitting here barefoot right now. It's about working in my office, at my house on my terms, or the beach or whatever. I mean, I do work, but I mean, nobody else is going to define what that looks like for me.
Perfect. Yes.
I don't want to have to put on the fancy heels and this suit every day and go clock in for somebody else. Being a Barefoot executive means I can be a CEO and on my terms. I can totally do that. So, and just how it applies to me is that I'm just barefoot 90% of the time unless I leave the house. So, but as far as how that, parenting tips and tricks as applied to business, I would say we know as parents that newborns will sleep eventually, that it won't always be hard. Now, I did question that with my third. She had colic. And for parents that have dealt with colic, I mean, even if you're surrounded by people that have been through colic, it still feels like the most mysterious, long-lasting thing ever.
They never shut up. They will not stop
hard, like
crying.
4 to 9 p.m. every day for about 6 weeks, no matter where we were, no matter what we did. And and it was so, especially for intelligent people, you're like, I can't believe there's not a solution for this. Really?
Yeah, right.
How are we in this century and we don't have a solution for this? And the truth is, they're not necessarily unhappy about anything, and they don't remember. She has no knowledge of this later, And just like I have no knowledge of some of the sacrifices that I made early on in my business, I would say that somebody gave me some great parenting advice just a few months ago, and maybe not parenting advice, something I probably have always intuitively done. But it was advice to other moms that are working businesses, especially with little ones. It's that, we tend to rush to the baby or rush to take care of the most helpless one at the time. Really, as moms building businesses and relationships with our kids, rush to who's going to remember. You can let the baby cry a few more minutes. They're not going to remember. Rush to the 10-year-old that's really needs you. Rush to the one that sees you rush into the baby every single time. And I think sometimes in business, we have to do triage like that. Because if we're honest, business as an independent business owner can be like an emergency room. It's triage, which is bleeding the most, which has the biggest impact. And so I would say, when you're looking at things to work on or what fires to put out, first of all, plan so that you're putting out as few fires as possible. Plan so that you
have the least number of fires erupting.
Unless you want to be a firefighter, your whole life. Plan better. I have very few fires I have to deal with, and I think it's just because I plan better now. Very few schedule overlaps with the kids. Very few emergencies we have to deal with as far as their carpooling and scheduling and those kind of things because we pre-think it. So I would say, when you're dealing with those issues in your business, deal with what's going to be remembered the longest. Either the thing that has the biggest impact to your bottom line or the thing that has the most difference impact-wise or, something that can crank the lever better instead of worrying about a social media post or if my keywords are right now. I mean, so much of that we create, I think. So I would say that's what I would advise. But the other thing is we talked a little bit pre-show about the absolute lack of parenting that's so obvious in so many families right now, unfortunately. But also, and not to say that sanctimoniously, because parenting is hard. Being a good parent is hard. Being a firm parent is hard. Being a consistent parent is hard, especially, whether you're running a business or not. It's hard to say no. It's hard to disappoint our kids. It's hard to ask them to respect your values when they don't see the benefit of that yet. And we know all these things, right? But it's so worth it. And while I've seen it in my kids, my older kids especially, I would say in your business, there are choices you're going to have to make that you're going to have to trust the process and trust that it's going to pay off later. Don't give up and give in to the easiest low path right there. So, I guess if we're speaking metaphorically, that's what I would say about that.
And then, so an example of that would be, so let's take a situation where you're looking at the next growth stage of your business, and do you have any ideas just off the top of your head as to an example of the longer path, the more difficult path, the right path to do that, and the quick, easy, low-hanging fruit, low path that you were just talking about? Is there any example you can give?
Yeah, so sometimes rather than take some time and work on your infrastructure in your business or create a bigger product, you think, oh, I'll just get a couple of affiliates or buy some ad traffic and promote to my lower product. When really, if you took even 2 weeks, created a bigger ticket product or offer or package, or sought a bigger affiliate promotion, you could build out a funnel that you could pour that entry level traffic to, and then it would work up to. So sometimes we choose the easy instead of the profitable. You're really, shooting yourself in the foot a lot of times. And it's just like when we tell the kids, yes, of course you can have ice cream right now. Well, then in 2 hours, you'll be like, why aren't they sleeping? Well, because they had dark chocolate mocha ice cream 2 hours ago. It would have been easier actually to say no 2 hours ago so that you could have had a good night's sleep. So I think that, when you're looking at your next growth, sometimes you have to make a tough decision. Do I hire somebody and train somebody, even though that's not comfortable, or even though I'm going to have to stretch a little bit to do it? Do I need to work on infrastructure or new product? Do I need to train myself on a new skill? Do I need to work differently and more disciplined? Do I need to put in a few more hours for a short period of time? Sometimes the hard thing is what builds the best muscle. So there's that.
And that is, it's not necessarily delayed gratification, but it's living in the now, but seeing and planning for what's down the road.
Yeah.
So it's not just living in the now and planning for the now. What's my quickest revenue? Unless you're in that phase and you need that.
Well, and I was going to say, I really advise all my clients to know what your cash faucets are. But your cash faucets, just like with your bathtub, you can't just leave the faucet running all the time. Your cash faucet really is just for spot things when you need it. You have to be focusing on sustainable revenue. You have to be able to take a vacation. You have to be able to deal with a sick child if you have a sick child, or a graduation week, or whatever crops up in our families. We have a very dear family that for 2 years her work has kind of been on hold because they're fighting childhood cancer, and it's an awful, horrible thing. But what if you do some hard work now so that when a situation of desperation comes up, you're not dried up and then starting over later. You could have something running in the background. So it's giving up what you want right now. I forget who said this. Giving up what you want right now for what you want most.
Yeah. And that, I would advise you, and you power parents listening to this, my story. My family just took a month off and we traveled through Europe for the month of June. And instead of planning for the negative thing that might happen, even though that happens, unfortunately, plan for the things you really want to do and allow your business to continue running while you're out having fun. And then you're right. You don't have to come back and start up all over again because you've kept that faucet running to a certain extent to keep that revenue in while you're doing something else. So that's wonderful. So tell me now, I know the biggest question I get, the most difficult thing that parents in business deal with, and that is, how do I fit it all in? How do I do everything I've got to do in the same 24 hours that non-parents have, and I still have to make it all work? So take us through your day if you can, a typical day. I know every day is different. If you're anything like me, there is no typical day. But if your typical, what you want to have happen, or just take yesterday, I don't care, whatever you need to do.
I would say that it's not even about parents versus non-parents, because even as a non-parent, I still tended to work a side thing or create side projects or do different things with my time than the other non-parents that I knew. I was never like a binge TV watcher. Maybe on a rare Saturday, we would watch 3 or 4 college football games back to back. But it was usually while we were making Christmas gifts or making jelly. As newlyweds, I taught him how to, his mom never did any of that. So, I was like the pioneer woman to him. He's like, wow, you can take fruit and make jelly. That's amazing. So, we were usually even doing something like that while we were watching. So I think innately, some of us just handle our time differently anyway. I have never understood people that said, I don't have time. Conversely, people that said I'm bored. I've never understood either of those two statements. I've never been either of those things. And, you look at somebody like Jennifer Lopez, who acts and sings and is a businesswoman and has twins. And then immediately people are listening and going, yeah, but she has nannies and she has blah, blah. She's still outworking a lot of us because of her hustle and her focus. And I can promise you she's not flipping channels on the couch or reading trash fiction.
Hallelujah.
She's also not chasing Pokemon. Now, I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with the Pokemon thing. I love watching the families doing it.
Oh, yeah.
I love seeing people involved. But when it gets into I did read a great article by Nick Pavlis, I think is how you pronounce his name. If you haven't interviewed Nick, you should. He said the other day, here's the lie that Pokemon has exposed. And the lie is everybody that says we don't have any time. Now all of a sudden Pokemon comes out and we're taking 2-hour walks. And, the dogs are all losing weight because we're walking the dog 25 times a day. And so I would say that people use the parent versus non-parent. Well, I'm a parent. I can't get that done. First of all, that's bull, and it's mindset reprogramming. Get it out of your head. Married people do the same thing. Well, I'm married and they're single, so they wouldn't understand. Oh, well, I'm single and they're married. They wouldn't understand because I do everything by myself. I was in a really great conversation with a single mom one time. I said, honestly, sister, got to praise you. I don't know how you do it. How you do it. You are juggling so many things. And I really want to applaud you. She said, I think that about married parents all the time because I at least get every other weekend and some holidays off. You guys never get a break. And I thought, okay, that perspective, I get it. So first we have to change our mind. We do have enough time. We have as much time in the day as Lin-Manuel Miranda, who stars in a show that he wrote and researched while he's recording a soundtrack for Disney. We have that much time in a day. My 12-year-old said, the most inspiring thought in the world is that I have the same amount of hours per day as Lin-Manuel Miranda. Okay, spoken like a Broadway girl, right? So that being said, the way you fit it in it's the same way you fit in expenses, is by cutting out what's not necessary. And that means, channel surfing. Not all TV is bad, but it's when we immediately justify with, I deserve to unwind. Well, not really. Let's earn it first. Let's stop paying ourselves first with prizes and rewards and pampering. Let's earn stuff. Everybody doesn't get a trophy, people. We got to earn it. So let's earn it. My middle brother, I have 3 brothers. Middle brother is the most disciplined person I know since we were kids. Seriously, always made me insane because I am not that girl. But he would, we'd get home from school and mom would have made us chocolate pudding or something. Back in the day, we didn't keep a lot of sweets in the house. It was a big deal. And so she would have made us chocolate pudding. So what do? Well, I do what she intended for me to do. I sit down and I eat it, and then I go do my homework. Kevin will go put his in the fridge. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, I'm going to wait until I finish my first 2 assignments, and then I'm going to come back and do that. So, I rewarded myself first. I'd had a hard day at school. I deserve this. And then I'll be more motivated to go work. And then he would say, I'm going to earn that. I'll come get that later. And sure enough, he never cheated he always was very, very diligent with that. He's that way as an adult too. So I think we have to switch our mindset from I deserve to I'm going to earn. And that's big. That's big. That's a big one.
It's huge.
It's a big one. So I would say cut out the extra things. Like if you're, binge watching things or reading things or surfing, internet's a big time killer for a lot of people. Put your phone down for the love and focus on some work. You are logging so much Facebook, Instagram, blog reading, surfing, cat video watching time that you don't even know you're doing. It's not even conscious to you. You're burning up a lot of time. There's an app that will track that.
Rescue Time. It's called Rescue Time.
Rescue Time, yeah.
It is amazing.
And the people I know that have used it are like, holy smokes, I was so convicted. I had no idea I was spending that much time. And yes, we know you use your phone for work. And yes, we know you can do emails and those kind of things. But I'm saying if we're more disciplined about our time, we get a lot more done. Stop wasting time going out to restaurants every day. Let's plan a little bit ahead so we can throw the crock pot on or eat at home. That doesn't just save you money. People think I always say that as a money-saving thing. It's not. You're saving the drive time, the choice time, the menu time, the waiting time, the tip, the whole 9 yards. Even my kids know it's just easier. Let's just stay here,
Yeah.
So one of my things is dinner. I always have a plan by 9 a.m. The dinner is always planned by 9. So I'm either thawing something out or I've got the crock pot fired up, or I even know if tonight's a going out night. So plan by 9, and that just That's how you get it all done. And stop doing the stuff that doesn't have to be done. I am not cleaning my house every day.
Right.
I'm not. I have a housekeeper. I say housekeeper. I have a cleaning service that comes once a month for 2 hours, y'all. I am not that girl with a maid. I'm not. They come just to scrub the grimy.
Yes.
And then as a family, we have chores for maintenance. But it's not something we're keeping up with every single day. We have some time set aside for that. I'm not obsessing about this always being perfect and neat and ideal and those kind of things. I'm just not. You've got to pick what your priorities are. But most of the time when we say we don't have time, we're giving ourselves an excuse to underperform.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for saying that. Now, all right, Power Parents, you're looking at the Barefoot Executive, businesses grown, sold, businesses grown. I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to look and go, oh, well, if I only had a nanny, or if I only had a housekeeper, if I only had a chef, if I was just like Oprah and everybody could just do it for me. You don't have to have that. And the two things I would comment on in terms of tools that you can do right now, people listening to me, do this right now. Pick up your phone and turn off all notifications on it.
Yep.
Turn off your Facebook notifications. Turn off your Instagram notifications, your Twitter notifications. That thing is going off for a reason, and it is distracting you from the money-making activities in your business and the time that you could spend with your kids. So turn off your notifications and get rescue time and set limits. I have on my rescue time, I have a limit of 1 hour, no more than 1 hour on any distracted activity. And I've specifically listed those distracted activities as Facebook or Twitter or blogs or whatever. And it notifies me if I get near that hour.
Right.
And if I'm getting near that hour by 10 a.m., I'm in trouble.
You're in trouble for the rest of the day. Well, and here's the thing, guys. This may be earth-shattering to you, but I'm just going to tell you because maybe nobody's ever told you before. But you can post to Instagram and post to Facebook without reading anything else. You don't even have to go read the comments from the notifications of whatever you already posted. You can say, well, I have to be there because I have to post my content. Well, you can do that. First of all, why don't you just schedule it? Get a scheduler. But if you're not going to do that, you can post. You can do a hit and run is what I call it. Post and shut it down. Post and shut it down. You can catch up on comments later, maybe during your reward time or at 9 p.m., when you're brain dead. Just, don't do that while you're drinking, though. Not a good idea. Those of you that like your wine in the evenings, please stay off social media.
Please. I've had a couple of those comments and I've had to go, whoa, okay, must be happy hour.
I have some folks that have self-identified to me lately that, at X time is when they start. And I'm like, oh, that explains your comments at night a lot. So you're not going to be offended if I delete those, right?
Yeah,
you're
right.
like, oh, no, please do. So I would say practice the hit and run approach. If you do have to post or, do an article or a Facebook Live, don't get sucked in. Post and get out. Your social media, you can really do your social media in about 10 minutes a day, cumulative. What you cannot do is consume social media in 10 minutes a day. So those of you that are consuming or comparing or looking for new ideas, stop looking for new ideas. You're just stalling your progress, first of all. But I would say stop consuming social media and contribute instead, and then get out and do the real work, the income work.
Hallelujah. Thank you so much. That's
You're welcome.
exactly.
I'm the guest. I'm today's guest preacher.
And you're preaching toward the choir, definitely.
There you go.
All right. So let's see. Raising 4 kids, building businesses, creating profit, teaching others to do the same. Mm-hmm. That was a process. It wasn't something that you jumped from.
Right.
Adopting those 2 kids to boom, you're the Barefoot Executive and making.
Yeah, I didn't decide to be a business coach teaching people. Some people say, oh, I think this is what I want to do, but you can't do it until you've done it.
Yes, exactly. It's the same as parents. You can't give any parenting advice until you've been there, and you shouldn't be giving advice.
Let's get to the punchline.
Yeah.
It was a process. It was well, exactly. Unless you can pay your own bills and your own coach, you should not be coaching other people and giving them advice on stuff that you haven't done. It's like taking marriage advice from somebody going through a really bitter divorce. It's not a good idea. You're not going to get great advice there. It's a little desperate in that advice. So, and I'm not downing divorce at all. I'm saying, you don't want to also get parenting advice from somebody who's in the middle of a huge rebellion, or a huge conflict So that being said, it was a very organic process. I didn't start giving advice till I started getting asked for advice, and I resisted a long time. I didn't start speaking until people called me. I didn't say, oh, I'm going to be a public speaker. I had people calling me to come speak. Please come teach us this, or please come be on our podcast. I didn't proclaim that for myself. I cringe when I see products or courses on how to be a thought leader. Like, we're going to decide to be a thought leader. We're going to decide. I mean, really, and who even calls himself a thought leader? If you call me a thought leader, I say, thank you, that's nice, but I'm not going to call myself a thought leader. I mean, it's like my mom used to tell me, it's okay for me to say you're pretty, or for somebody else to say you're pretty. Don't go walking around going, oh, I'm so pretty. Let other people say it. Don't take a course to be a thought leader, or how to be a successful business coach when you've never had a business in your life. So it was an organic process. I started in sales of somebody else's product. I moved into a desktop publishing company where I was merging a software, with information and creating information, education, motivation for a sales force. I then moved into Barefoot Executive, connecting people with resources. I was the Oprah of that industry, interviewing people, connecting them with resources, not necessarily being the expert myself, but that did move me into expert status. And then because of my influence, my expertise, and my gift for speaking, I moved into a speaking and author realm. And now I can organically and authentically teach what I know. I don't teach what I think. I don't teach what I've read other people say. I teach what I know. I teach what I've done. I teach what I'm doing. I still stay in the trenches working, every day. I'm not just a theory, guru coming down off the mountain to impart some wisdom. It's just not the scene that I like.
That is so good. Okay. So, but through that whole process, you've had to, the example I was giving, rise a little higher, fly a little higher with each level that you've done. Mm-hmm. So tell me if you can just name maybe 2 or 3 things that you have implemented in your business that have allowed you to fly a little higher, to be a little more strategic and a little less in your business and working a little more on it. Are there any particular tools that you've used to help you do that?
So automation is a must on some things. You can't automate me, but I use an automation scheduler for appointments and podcasts and those kind of things. I now am using Schedule Once, I think is what it's called. I'm on the basic level of that. I've used Time Trade. I have friends that use Calendly. I mean, there are free on up to expensive things out there. I think just find the one that works best for you. But right now, I think I'm on a $5 plan of Schedule Once. Yeah, I'm into big, high dollar tools.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's the one I'm using, and I run a full-time podcast.
There you go. So I believe in automation and the things that make sense. Otherwise, I do have a VA. She's been with me for 8 years. She works for me 10 hours a month. But it seems like full-time to me because she interfaces so many things. And some people say, well, I can't afford a VA. Well, that's beside the point. The point is whether it's her going back and forth with somebody's scheduling or me back and forth with somebody's scheduling, the cost is several hours and delay. Whereas with a scheduling link, you can click the link and go straight to the calendar. So I think that one is very helpful. If you're doing any email at all in your business, any kind of email marketing, you must, absolutely must. The FTC says you must use an email software. You cannot be mass emailing people from Google or Outlook. You will get shut down. You make the rest of us look bad. You affect the spam scores. Stop it. Use Mad Mimi, which is free, I think up to 2,000 names. Use MailChimp, which is free up to 2,000 names. Use something to be compliant, to look professional. You must, if you're doing anything in email, have that. So those are 2 key things in automation. I also love like Google Docs or Jot forms. Some of those things you can fill out a form online. If somebody wants to interview me for like a summit or as a potential partner or to come speak, I realized we were asking some of the same questions over and over. So we created a Google Doc. And so now we just send them the Google Doc and they have to then come back with the answers. If they get irritated because they're too important for that, then they're probably not a good fit for me anyway, because divas need not apply. It's not my space. It's not who I hang with. So that being said, some of those kind of automatic things are an absolute must. You must be able to take money easily. Make it easy for people to do business with you. So whether you're using Stripe or whether you're using PayPal, whatever your online payment is, it must be easy for people to give you money or you will struggle. There is no, let me bring you a check, let me mail you. Stop it. Pay the fee. Get over yourself. deducted on your tax return. It's 2.9% for the love, and you get the money in your account plus some protection. So those things I would say are non-negotiables, are the email service, getting paid, and scheduling. Those help leverage your time a lot.
Yes. And I just did a podcast on the art of saying no, because every time we say no to one thing, it frees us up to say yes to something else. So, and that's the only way you can grow your business, is to be able to say yes to more things and no to the things that aren't making you money.
Yeah. Not yes to more things, yes to better things. I was offered a 7th grade English teaching position the other day. Now I'm certified and certifiable. I'm certified. I had written a proposal. It's a charter school. I had written a proposal for an entrepreneurship class. When they looked that up, they saw that I was certified, and they offered me 7th grade teaching position. And my daughter is in 7th grade. And so I was a tiny bit tempted.
Yes.
Tiny bit. You know how we do.
Yes. We
I could probably
consider.
fit that in.
Yeah, we consider. Yeah.
It was full time,
Yeah,
back in a classroom. And I considered it, and then I turned it down. I said it would not be of any service to those kids. I have some business contracts. I have to travel. I do keynotes, blah, blah, blah. I said, and I can't block every day in case I get the opportunity to speak. So I turned it down. Next day, a company that I've been back and forth with for 3 years on a major corporate training contract and keynote, next day, the very next day, I'm not even playing, this was last week, called me. I just flew in and out yesterday and signed the contract. If I had said yes to that teaching, are you insane? I mean, it happens over and over. When you free up a really toxic client, it makes room for a joyful client or two. When you free up busy work, it gives you either creative time, planned time, relationship time, or profit time. So yeah, you've got to get used to saying no to some things and look forward to it. Like, what can I say no to? This is awesome. This is so good.
Yes. Okay. I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you very much. You just supported exactly what I spent a whole podcast saying. Yahoo! All right. So let me ask you this. I know we're coming up on time, Carrie. I really want to make sure we use that as valuably as possible.
You're doing great.
So there are people out there that are getting excited and motivated and inspired by the things we're talking about and the amazing things you're sharing. And they're still sitting on the fence, and they are rocking back and forth going, oh man, yes, I think I can do this. I really want to do this, but I just don't know. And will it fit in my life? And her life seems so amazing. And can I really make that work? But they're still rocking back and forth thinking about it. What advice would you give that person?
I would say the only thing you gain by rocking back and forth on the fence is splinters in your rear. That's the most uncomfortable position ever. Being on the fence about anything.
Get up.
It all is painful.
Yes.
Choose one side or the other. I saw a graphic the other day, and I loved it. Now, unfortunately, I saw it the same day as all this stuff was going on in Nice, France. So it wasn't in good taste to post that day. So I'm going to save it for another day. But it said, make a decision on one side of the street or the other. The street is full of flat squirrels who couldn't decide.
Yeah.
You've got to make a decision. And if it's a no, like, no, I just can't add a side business right now, or I can't pursue this idea. Awesome. Own that mess. Just own it and be good with it, and don't wish and want and should all over yourself. Stop it. If it's a yes, then let your yes be yes. Nobody likes lukewarm, y'all. We need to be hot or cold. That's not only biblical, but it's also just is what it is. That's why people either love Rush Limbaugh or want to kill him, love Howard Stern or want to kill him. I mean, there's no in between if you're really going to make it work. So either decide yes and go all in, whatever that looks like, or say no and let it go. But don't spend your life like looking over your shoulder and what-ifing yourself to death. It's just silly.
Yes. And you're just making yourself a teenager again. Okay? Just, get over it.
Which boy should I go dance with?
I know. Maybe I should try both.
Dress?
Yeah.
Which dress should I wear?
Yeah. Can't I just buy both? No.
No.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. So Carrie, leave us with where we can find you, what you're working on. If there's anything specific that is going on now that you'd like to share with us, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, you can find me at carriewilkerson.com. I spell it very much like Stephen King, spells his prom queen. So carriewilkerson.com. And there is a free video class there for 7 days of free video coaching that I would love for folks to sign up for if they want it. There's also lots of blog posts and videos and those kind of things. The other way they can find me, I'm very involved on my Facebook business page, which is called Barefoot Executive. So if they just search me there, I post there several times a day, and I'm very engaged with my community there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for spending this time. I so enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what goes on in the future.
Be super fun. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Woo! Man, did I love that conversation. Oh my goodness. Talking to Carrie, I could chat with her for pretty much all day. We really had a great chat before we started recording. And, this is a very down-to-earth person. So I sincerely hope you got some incredible actionable advice, Power Parents, because this was the place to get it. Some of the things we talked about, I loved. Chase the ROI that matters. Go for the ROI that actually means something long-term, not just the short-term. I hope you got that. All right. In the meantime, if you have any other questions, go to the show notes, parententrepreneurssuccess.com/PEP136. And we'll have all the links to everything that Carrie talked about and her Facebook group and her website and business. And, I would love for you to chat with me there as well and leave a comment. And if you are enjoying these conversations, I will ask you again, if you have subscribed to the iTunes show, the Parent Entrepreneur Power Show on iTunes or Stitcher, and if you have left us an honest rating and review, I would love it if you could do that. And I hope you enjoy the journey. To get powered up for your day, just go to ParentEntrepreneurPower.com and listen to any one of the over 100 episodes we've had so far with amazing entrepreneurs just like you. It might just help you feel like a grown-up again.